$220 billion. Yeah, you heard that right. $220 billion. That is the absolutely staggering sum of money Qatar threw down to host the 2022 FIFA World Cup. It's a number so huge, it's almost hard to wrap your head around, right? I mean, we're talking about a monumental financial gamble taken by one single nation, all for a tournament that lasts exactly 1 month.
But hold on, because I want you to contrast that massive spend with this next number, $7.5 billion. That is the colossal, virtually risk-free revenue that FIFA, the global governing body of football, walked away with after that exact same tournament. Think about that for a second. They didn't build a single stadium. They didn't pave any roads, yet they strolled out with a historic payday.
Welcome to This Explainer, the ultimate financial illusion, the hidden economics of the World Cup. Today, we're taking a deep, investigative dive into the dark, hidden economics behind the world's most watched sporting event. We're going to break down the data to see exactly how host countries shell out billions but rarely see a profit, while a flawless wealth extraction model makes sure FIFA literally always wins. So let's jump right in.
Section 1, the problem. Who really pays?
Okay, so to really grasp this, we've got to look at the core imbalance of the World Cup business model. It's basically a setup where the host country eats all the monumental financial risks, while FIFA just sits back and collects the guaranteed rewards. The contrast is honestly stunning. Just look at Qatar's towering $220 billion expenditure right next to FIFA's contribution, which was only about $1.7 billion. While FIFA uses their tiny fraction to cover operational costs, logistics, and the $440 million prize pool, the host nations are on the hook for tens or even hundreds of billions in structural preparations. They have to build the literal stage from the ground up just to meet FIFA's incredibly strict standards. And the real disparity, that kicks in once the games actually begin. You see, FIFA legally retains all of the most lucrative direct revenue streams. They keep the TV broadcasting rights, which, just for context, sold for $4.6 billion in the 2018 Russia cycle. They keep all the ticketing revenue through a subsidiary they fully own, and they keep billions in marketing rights. So, what does the host country get out of this deal? Well, they essentially get the hope that a temporary, short-term surge in tourism is somehow going to offset their massive, decades-long infrastructure debts. Seems a bit lopsided, doesn't it? Section 2. Curse of the White Elephants. So what happens when the 1-month party ends and billions of TV viewers tune out? A pretty tragic reality sets in for the host country. Take the Estadio Nacional in Brasilia, for example. Built for the 2014 World Cup, this stadium cost nearly $1 billion. At the time, that made it the second most expensive stadium in history. The expectation was this world-class 72,000-seat arena for global superstars. But the reality today? Well, because the local football scene can't even come close to filling those seats, the exterior is literally being used as a bus parking lot. And local civil servants? They're now using the luxury boxes, the very ones that once hosted FIFA dignitaries, as their daily government offices. And unfortunately, it's a global graveyard of abandoned masterpieces out there. Brazil's $300 million Arena de Amazonia was built right in the middle of the rainforest, and it became so desperate for cash that it literally started hosting kids' birthday parties and wedding receptions. Then there's the historic Maracanã, which went completely dark for a while because of a $3 million unpaid energy bill. Over in Russia, the Volgograd Arena suffered massive flooding and water damage just days after the 2018 tournament packed up. And in South Africa, the Cape Town Stadium still drains millions in local taxpayer money every single year just for basic upkeep. In fact, some Russian venues require a staggering $10 million in federal subsidies every single year today just to keep the lights on and the grass green. It's wild. Section 3. The hidden cost of hosting. Now, we've talked about the physical ruins, but we also really need to talk about the invisible economic drains. To even be considered as a host, FIFA demands a massive legal concession, sweeping tax exemptions. The host nation must legally suspend consumption taxes, income taxes, and municipal taxes for FIFA, its subsidiaries, and all of its massive corporate sponsors. Essentially, FIFA forces the host country to create a temporary, fully exempt tax haven. This guarantees that while global megacorporations are minting money off worldwide advertising, they are paying almost absolutely nothing back into the local economy of the host nation. Just listen to this quote from the Inspiration campaign during the 2014 World Cup. They said, "The price of these tax breaks for corporate giants will be paid by people living in poverty in Brazil, and that is obscene."
That really underscores the real-world human impact of these policies, doesn't it? It's estimated that Brazil lost hundreds of millions of dollars in foregone tax revenue. That is money that analysts argue could have and should have been used for local schools, hospitals, and infrastructure, rather than basically subsidizing a multi-billion-dollar sporting event.
Section 4. The Qatar 2022 Experiment. And that brings us to the most extreme example of World Cup economics we have ever seen. Qatar didn't just treat the World Cup as a soccer tournament. Nope, they treated it as an unprecedented nation-building exercise. Leading up to 2022, Qatar's GDP saw massive spikes in construction and manufacturing. You remember that $220 billion figure we started with? Well, only about 6.5 to 10 billion of that actually went into building stadiums. The vast majority of that money went toward radically modernizing the entire country, building entirely new metro systems, fresh airports, new highways, and even creating a brand new city from scratch called Lusail.
So, what did that massive gamble actually achieve? Well, right when the World Cup kicked off, Qatar saw a staggering 307% surge in tourism arrivals. For a small, wealthy nation looking to diversify its economy away from purely relying on oil and gas, this wasn't really about making a direct financial profit on ticket sales. It was a massive exercise in geopolitical soft power. It was about putting their country on the map, proving they could handle a global mega event, and projecting a super modern image to the rest of the world. But here's the thing. Even with that success in soft power, there's still a glaring mathematical impossibility left behind. Qatar built 300,000 state-of-the-art stadium seats for a country with a total population of just 2.8 million people. To put that in perspective, their domestic soccer league averages maybe 1,000 to 2,000 fans a game. Because of this, it's estimated that Qatar is now spending around $50 million a year just to maintain these beautifully lit, perfectly manicured, but completely empty arenas. And honestly, nothing symbolizes this whole situation better than Stadium 974. This was marketed as a revolutionary, fully sustainable arena built out of exactly 974 shipping containers. The big promise was that right after the tournament, it would be totally dismantled and donated to a developing nation. But if you look at it today, it sits completely abandoned in the exact same spot, slowly rusting in the harsh desert heat. It's just another expensive monument to the World Cup curse, and they still haven't quite figured out what to do with it. Section 5. Warning for North America 2026. Now, for those of us watching in the US, Canada, and Mexico, the co-hosts of the largest World Cup in history, the strategy for 2026 is entirely different. The goal here is to dodge that white elephant curse completely by leaning on the massive pre-existing infrastructure of NFL and MLS stadiums across the continent. Since these multi-billion-dollar stadiums are already built and actively used year-round, the host cities are largely avoiding those catastrophic construction costs that crippled places like Brazil, Russia, and South Africa. And because of this completely different approach, analysts are actually projecting a massive $14.1 billion in positive economic output spread across the local economies of the host cities. Which brings us to a final, pretty provocative question that I want to leave you with today. Can North America truly break the curse, or is the economic trap already set? Sure, the stadiums are already built, but these host cities are still going to have to foot the bill for massive security operations, heavy infrastructure upgrades, and crazy local logistics, all while adhering to FIFA's strict tax-exempt demands. Will those projected billions in tourism actually trickle down to local taxpayers, or will FIFA's flawless wealth extraction model win yet again? Thanks for joining me on this explainer today. I really hope this gives you a whole new perspective the next time you tune in to the beautiful game.